holiday, year 4 of WTCtv Holiday Special. What is going on, Paul and Chuckster?
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Here we are again. Can you believe it? Like, man, time flies fast.
Right?
2021, 2022, and here we are, 2023. It's Christmas time, and here we are to wish everyone a happy Christmas and to talk about the year that was in the wrestling card hobby for 2023.
Yeah,
How
it's
are you, brother?
amazing. Just before we started recording here, you brought up, like, you said year 4, and I'm like, holy crap, it is year 4. We did do this in
It is.
2020, and this whole idea in 2020 when David Porto and I just did a random video talking about the hobby, talking about WTC. It just crazy to me. It's just crazy. Here we are 4 years later, still doing stuff,
I'm
And
not surprised. You remember what I said to you when you had me on the very first time in August 2020? You did your show with Porto, and you brought on Peck, and then you brought on me. And I said, I said, you know what you've done here. You know what you've created. And you're like, well, I just want to get comfortable with the camera and blah, 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 blah. I said, oh,
yeah.
you're going to get comfortable. All right.
Oh yeah. I mean, even Porto right afterwards, he just says, you know what you did, man?
Yeah.
You're gonna light a fire in our ass now. It's like that. When he meant our ass, he meant my ass, not his.
Yeah, we talked about
But
all the things, obviously COVID and all the things that contributed to our market becoming more widespread and getting a little bit of critical mass. And I got to say, you and Porto sitting down doing that video, not that Zan wasn't doing them already,
nope.
but that was a pretty significant moment, I think, because it got a bunch of us like me and Chuck and a bunch of other people that sort of weren't on Twitter at that point and were sort of loosely engaged in the hobby, but it kind of brought a platform, a place, and this is the place. If you're not on WTC TV, where have you been?
Yeah. It was crazy because it started making conversations back then about is it coming back? Are you guys updating the site? What's happening here? It's like that. And I'll never forget after we started in 2021 and going back and making those updates. And, Chuckster and I were like just rapidly getting that stuff done as quickly as possible. And we made a conscious effort to make sure we got independent stuff done first, as far as adding new stuff. We got all the old stuff kind of redone and stuff like that, but started getting new stuff. And still one of the greatest posts I ever got or comments I ever got was from Armand, saying like, I 7 years. He's like, I checked the site every day for 7 years, and this was the day I was waiting for, a day that, updates happening. So it became like really worth it to people go like, all right, now we're getting shit back together against like getting it going. So like that. And now here we are going through all the ups and downs of the hobby after, during pandemic, post pandemic. And then what a crazy year 2023 has been, right?
Well, a lot of stuff happened this year. Maybe that's what we'll start with. Part one is talking about our top moments of 2023. I wrote down a bunch of them, and you guys might have a couple others, but I figured instead of ranking them like we normally do, because we are going to rank our favorite wrestlers and our favorite card sets of the year, we'll just talk about some of them. I'll sort of throw one out there, and then we'll talk about each one. First one on the list, and to many, this is going to be sort of the biggest story of the year, is that the 2022 Black Rock Panini Prizm, the inaugural release, sold this year for $125,000. Now we've spoke about this ad infinitum. Some may call it a non-event. It was very much a big event in the wrestling card
Huge,
world.
huge
And
event. And you know what? Off record, I mean, just recently got wind of the second high bidder for that, said he would have bid again against that, but he went to sleep.
yeah.
Can you imagine if those two guys were both still awake and how much further that card probably could have gone?
Yeah. That's what it is sometimes. One guy is asleep and it's 50 grand.
Yeah, I mean, it's when two guys are bidding like that on things like this. I mean, even from the simplest things, people's egos and prides get in the way, and all of a sudden, it's like, I know I'm overpaying, but damn it, I'm not going to lose.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. What do you think about that, Chuckster?
The price just astounded me. We've never seen anything like this in the wrestling card hobby before. And quite frankly, I think it's going to be a long, long, long time before I ever see that happen again.
Possibly.
It happened because, number one, it was The Rock. Now, The Rock is just a universal star, be it in wrestling, be it in Hollywood. The man's just got the it factor right now. And I've always said in the past, because I know in the last couple of years, wrestling cards have just taken on a life of their own as far as prices. And that price there, I don't know that we're going to see a price like that again, because people are only going to pay what they can afford to pay. And that card's only going to be worth that much to one person. I don't see the person who bought this reselling it. If he did, he's going to have to get at least that to make his money back. And I don't know that anybody else has the deep enough pockets to do that. There might be a couple of the guys out there, but first of all, I don't see him letting go of it. And
yeah, I don't think that person was buying it with the intention of investing it and trying to resell it later anyway. I think this was a what we call a big dick piece. So
Yeah,
it's just,
right.
gotta wave it around. And congratulations to them. And would any one of us, if we had that kind of money, pay that kind of money on that?
Nope.
I don't think I would. I wouldn't.
Well, it's why we refer to it as a unicorn. Although I do
Yep.
like big dick piece. A unicorn is one of those things that we have in real estate, you have it in general economic theory. We have to throw something out because it's so far off, that's called a statistical anomaly. The Hogan All-Stars in a top grade has consistently kissed that $50,000 to $55,000 mark.
Correct. Yeah.
Several times now. So that's an established value for the top card in our hobby, which is still the Hogan, not the Rock. The Rock was just a one-off. But the fact that it went so high that it crossed the six-figure barrier, I think, is what had us all up that night and sort of shaking our heads the next morning. Of course, we did a super show on it immediately. But it was a big one. And Tony, you mentioned about TMZ and the people that got involved after. Like, it really brought a lot of people to the hobby, and the response to our tweets, several hundred people responded the next morning to me and stuff like that. So that was one of the big ones. Second thing I wrote down, we talked about the sort of dissension and the friction in the wrestling card hobby, but we've got it at a much higher level because the guys that make the stuff for us had quite the year. The second sort of story I had in my mind was WWE sues Panini for early contract termination. Now we know that things have been bumpy. We know that the licenses go into Topps, back to Fanatics under the Topps banner. But we had a very interesting summer where one morning we woke up to the fact that WWE was actually suing Panini for what they felt was some things that they didn't live up to in agreement, looking to stop them dead in their tracks and switch over, we presume, to Topps right away. And after a preliminary sort of hearing on it, and this is still ongoing, guys, it was determined no, that Panini did not do anything that warranted stopping the license dead in its tracks, and they could continue to work together. But since that time, we've seen no product. We don't expect anything new is going to come. There is no
well, there actually is some new. There is new stuff coming like that. So it's probably going to be. It looks like it's going to be. We're probably going to see Elite. We're probably going to see another Immaculate. We're probably going to see another.
There's an Elite for sure. The problem with these Immaculates and
maybe
things is the autograph.
Yes, correct.
So that's why on the sell sheets now, if you look at Panini's release schedule for next year, there's no WWE product on. That doesn't mean that there might not be. It's like Upper Deck throwing in those 16-bit cards. You don't know nothing about it until the set hits, and all of a sudden, hey.
But they surprised us here towards the end too by putting an instant moment too. It's like that for Punk coming back, and so it's like, whoa, okay. So I thought you weren't supposed to put anything new outside. So there's all kinds of questions about that. So we'll see. 2024.
That was an online card, but
that first quarter is going to be pretty interesting to see how that plays out. But this also ties into with the lawsuits of Fanatics and Panini as well. I mean, Panini's got itself involved in so many different lawsuits going on right now, and not just with Fanatics and WWE, but across the board, so many other things going on.
NFL Players Association. I mean, it's a thing, and we've got more questions as we end 2023 than we do answers, and I think that's going to be the case for the short term, anyways. We're not going to know much of anything going into early 2024, other than the Elite product is made. So we suspect that that's going to go to the big distributors, and we're going to see that. But what happens next? Nothing's a for sure. I mean, we've heard talk that there may be this, there may be that, and Adam's done a bit.
That's what I meant about other stuff. I mean,
diving on that stuff, but it's not. Nothing's in stone as far as I'm aware at this stage. And you mentioned about the other lawsuits. I mean, there was the specific Panini WWE one. But then there's also the Panini Fanatics one, where Panini has alleged that Fanatics engaged in torturous interference of their contracts by poaching employees, and it's a much much larger story for the hobby. We recommend, for those of you that don't follow Paul Lesko, he's an attorney that's very tied into the wrestling story. And he gives us just in time sort of updates of what happens in the courts, and he sort of presents it in an understandable way. He takes all the legalese and says, okay, in plan.
Yeah, he makes it simple so dumb guys like me can understand it.
Correct. So that the three of us can sort of report on it and know what we're talking about. But yeah, that was certainly newsworthy on 2023, just sort of friction, not only within our hobby, but at the topmost levels, the guys that make the product for our hobby, that they can't get their shit together. Although it's Ruben's world, once it goes to Fanatics, it'll be a long time before we have this conversation again.
So I'm going to kind of skip over. I know we have a list of things we want to talk about like that, but let's just go ahead and tie right into it. Since we talked about, Panini still printing out some stuff here, like the CM Punk, but CM Punk returning to WWE is a big deal too.
Sure. Well, think about this. Think about this. Your odds-on favorite to win the Royal Rumble is either Cody Rhodes or CM Punk. Both of those guys will likely head night each subsequent night of WrestleMania, one against Seth, one against Roman. Mm-hmm. Where were these guys a year ago? Right? Or I guess for Cody a little bit longer than that. Yeah. So Mr. Khan is fucked up large in my book, and it seems to me that Punk looks happy. He doesn't seem to have a chip on his shoulder, and they're doing.
He looked happy when he came to AEW too.
That was okay. That's a different environment.
He's out there getting himself embraced by the fans and getting hugs and things like that. And like, wow, this looks like a happy Punk, So it's early to tell. This guy has a track record, so we can't ignore history.
There's no denying that he's money, because I read somewhere.
No denying that at all.
The door to a new broadcast deal with Turner or TBS or that's been made possible because of CM Punk, just because they've sort of okay, let's revisit this. So Chuck, you're a big AEW guy, and give us your thoughts on that. Punk leaving AEW and coming to WWE.
Art this quickly, but this may be a minor Chuckster heel turn. Chuckster loved CM Punk in Ring of Honor when he started out, and the Summer of Punk, and when he did the Straight Edge Society when he was in WWE. I even enjoyed his pipe bomb. I have since lost all my love and respect for Punk during his 7-year absence from the program. I didn't want him in AEW. I'm not happy with him in WWE. While he was gone and he went to MMA for a while, every interview he had was constantly downgrading the wrestling industry and his former co-workers, and it was just bad-mouthing them over and over and over again. And then when he came back into AEW, who had actually was starting to make a name for themselves with their little homegrown stars that they had made, he comes in and overshadows all of them. And now it's all about Punk again. And all these guys who have worked so hard to build up their reputations and build that show, he come in and just took over. Yeah, I get it. The fans like him. And he puts people in the seats and he makes money for the company. I get that. And I know that's what it's all about. The situation.
That bad mouthing is just, it's hard to get over that bad mouthing, right?
Sounds
a lot like a collectible world, I know.
That's what killed Punk. He's back. And then when I could speak an hour on him and the Jack Perry situation, so I won't. I'll just ignore that. He went to WWE, and now what's happened? Last year, I predicted the rise, surprisingly right, of LA Knight. Now Punk is back. Where's LA Knight now? He's fading back into the background again. What happened to Cody Rhodes when he came into WWE with such high fanfare? And now look at him. He's been in a couple title contentions, but he hasn't done anything big, in my opinion, other than that cage match he did with Seth, but he hasn't really made himself yet. And now Punk's coming in, and Punk is now, after being gone for 7 years, comes back in, goes right back into top title contention. And he's overshadowing all of these young up-and-coming stars again after bad-mouthing the whole company for 7 years. And I have no respect for him. I'm sorry, I don't like him. When he's on TV, I go to the other room. I just don't like Punk. And I'm sorry, back, but to the people that love him, I'm sorry I said that. I know.
That's not an uncommon opinion, Chuck.
Heel Chuck, heel Chuck. I love heel Chuck.
There's a lot of people that feel that way, Chuck. You know, like some people love him, but there are a lot of people that don't believe that he's the big name that he's cut out to be.
Yeah, and all he does, he can still perform in the ring to a certain degree, but he's like the rest of us. He's getting some age on him, and his big thing is coming in the ring talking. I don't want to hear you talk for 20 minutes. Come out there and talk. You know, come out and do a little trash talk and then do your thing, but don't come out there and make these big speeches and go on and on and on and how you're happy to be back. I really don't think you're happy to be back. I think you're happy to see that big old paycheck coming to you.
Well, he said it, didn't he? Remember that first Raw? Didn't he? He said the end of the first Raw.
I'm here to make friends. I'm here to make money.
Yeah, just as the camera was fading to black, he said that. But you know what? The man's controversial, and
so that
cheering in the arenas for him, especially over that long period of time that he was gone. You know, that phenomena was mind-boggling to me, that Punk was nowhere to be seen, and yet every episode of Raw, people would start chanting CM Punk. So it almost becomes beyond the guy himself. It's almost like people just need something to cause shit. You know what I mean? I'm not a huge Punk fan, to be honest with you, but it's exciting to me because all of a sudden, oh look, it's going to be interesting. Who's going to win this Royal Rumble now? It's going to be Punk. It's going to be Cody. And is Cody going to get Roman, or how's that all going to work out? So, but it's definitely a big talking point, isn't it? You know, wherever he goes, people are flapping afterwards.
And in the card world, he's starting to make waves again in the card world. I mean, right. People are bringing up the 2004 Pacific cards. They're starting to make a comeback again. The 2010.
They're not getting too pricey. It's like that. I did another quick online interview with the guys over at Card Life TV. And we talked about specifically about Punk, because the producer Brandon reached out to me and said, all I could see on my feeds on Sunday was just all this wrestling stuff. What's going on? This Punk guy came back, and so he reached out to me. And we talked. Yeah, his value's going up a little bit, but it ain't going to go up. It's not going to be Hogan level. It's not going to be Taker level. It's not going to be. It's just like it was when he came to AEW. His value went up a bit, and then it went down. And I think it's going to go up again, and it's going to go back down to normal levels.
And I'm not going to not collect his stuff. I mean, I've already got a lot of his stuff in my collection. It's just what I do. I collect. But actually, the one piece of Punk memorabilia that I have that I kind of like better than a lot of the cards that I have of him is last year when he came back to AEW, the one big thing he always joked about was having his ice cream bars. And at one his comeback show, he actually gave out ice cream bars at the show. And I have one of the actual ice cream bar wrappers with the CM Punk logos on it.
Nice.
I would get one of that. I mean, that being not a fan of his, but I knew where that was going to stand in the hobby eventually. That's going to be kind of a collector's piece, I do believe.
Yeah. Speaking of guys that sell sets, Dwayne Johnson and Leaf. Let's talk about that. We had a pleasant surprise last month or the month before when all of a sudden it was announced that Leaf was coming out with a set and had Dwayne Johnson involved. And that all took us by surprise because The Rock hasn't signed anything in God knows how long. There's never been a Dwayne Johnson in wrestling. And of all companies, Leaf. Leaf was always sort of the third company in our conversation. And give me your thoughts on that. And that's coming soon. We'll have that in January. And that's going to be a big product for our hobby, I believe.
I love Leaf products. Leaf always puts out quality stuff. To get The Rock is a big milestone for me. Zan covered a little bit of this on one of his shows, and I happened to be on live, and he and I were typing back. I was making comments during his show. The only thing that kind of disappoints me in this respect is they have a picture of The Rock on this card, and I know because of copyright issues they can't use the Rock signature. They have Johnson. I'm okay with that, but if you got a picture of The Rock, I want The Rock's signature. I'm lucky to have the Comic Images Rock signature. I'm proud of that piece. That's probably one of the centerpieces of my collection. But I understand that Leaf only has like 30 of these, so they're going to be really rare, and I think they're going to shoot up the minute they're released, and I don't see them dropping at all. I see all of them. I see nothing but positive for this card. I just wish they had been able to work something out to use The Rock and put, or even he put Dwayne The Rock Johnson. That I would have been happy with that too. Somewhere along there, The Rock had to have been on there, or Rocky Maivia, something that connected him to the wrestling world other than the picture. I wanted the name that he was really known for at the time.
I agree. I'd rather have something signed by The Rock long before Dwayne Johnson.
Agreed. Same here.
All right, carrying on with the list. We mentioned about the lawsuits. Leaf, WWE is acquired by Endeavour Group. That was a pretty big story. The guys that own the UFC and had bought the William Morris agency, created a powerhouse company, and they did a deal and acquired WWE. Vince cashed out a few weeks ago, a stupid amount of money, $8 billion or something like that,
Yeah.
We normally don't get into the politics and the upper level stuff that's happening, but that was a big story. Like
It was a big story.
That was mainstream news. It was talking about, wow, like Vince has sold WWE. He's not giving it to Stephanie or Shane. Or
all I know is it helped my stock.
Yeah, sure it did. Sure it did. If you had original stock and you were sitting on it, that day you had a good day.
Yep.
The whole story of Vince selling the WWE really floored me. I mean, I was stunned for the day, because again, like all you guys, I just figured that was going to be a generational company. It's just going to go down through generation through generation through generation. But I also see Vince's point too. He's already made it a global phenomenon. And all these guys can do is just take it higher because they've got the money to do so. I mean, correct. Vince knows controlling interest in it, but he's still got his hand in it. I'm sure he has his hand in it. And I think if he had still had controlling interest, here comes heel Chuck sneaking back in. I don't think Punk would have.
The Grinch that stole Christmas, huh, Chuck?
He's the Grinch.
But I don't think he would have been back. But again, that was just such a game changer to the WWE. And now, are they going to be as when and if Topps does take back over the card license, is this company going to be as invested in doing that as Vince and his company was? Or is that going to be something they're going to say, oh, we can make money doing other things, let's just kind of push that to the side a little bit? Just how's that going to affect the card industry?
Again, more questions than answers, so that's why it's an interesting time, because we don't know what's coming next, and it keeps us on our toes. Right. As collectors of the product, what happens at the topmost levels of the product affects ultimately what happens with all the merchandising and all that shit. So very interesting. But I agree with you, Chuck. It's definitely true that Vince did what he thought would be best for the long-term prospects of the company, and for the opportunity of his family. Look, none of his generations of McMahons are going to be poor now, but just interesting that that happened. Let's talk about some of the things that happened within the hobby before we get on to our favorites of the year. The National, we did second year 2 panel, which was lots of fun, and that was also combined with the first ever main event, which was a trade night that Adam Gelman took the lead on and organized us, and that far exceeded our expectations. We had loads of people that came to Chicago during that week of the National, and we had a great night. It something we're going to be doing again for this year. Looking forward to it. Now, the one thing I got to say that I didn't enjoy this year as much about the National, Chuck, is that you weren't there. For me, the Atlantic City one always has that special place in my heart because of those walks we had down the boardwalk and buying saltwater taffy, and Tony and I going up in the Ferris wheel and all that stuff. But Tony, I'll let you talk about the National this year in the main event.
It was a culmination to me of many years of being in the hobby, and seeing where it was at and how we talked about it 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, hell, 5 years ago. And then seeing, a lot of like-minded faces coming together to, and really enjoy the hobbies like that. And I remember you and I, when Adam and the team got together and started organizing this main event thing, it started getting way bigger than we ever anticipated. So we're like, okay, Paul and I just kind of said, all right, we're just going to sit back. We're going to make sure that we take care of the panel. Panel's always our thing. we'll organize that, and we'll just let the main event happen however it happens. And good luck to you, and we would love to be part of it. And if you get 40 people, that'd be a huge success.
That's what we were
And
saying. 40
yeah,
or 50 people would be great if we could get
yeah, it
that.
would be great. You know, the night
And then they
of,
started talking, oh no, we're going to get 100 plus. Oh, really?
yeah, and then the night of, you got the table outside. You got Ryan and I can't remember the other gentleman that was issuing name. We didn't have enough name badges to give out to people. That's how many we had. Over about 175 people showed up. You have 3 representatives from Panini there the entire time we were there, observing and seeing what was going on. And people like we had so many prizes to give
I was just
away.
going to say, we didn't run out of stuff to give away to all the people.
We didn't run out of stuff. Now this is how ridiculous it was, and how much people loved the concept of what was going on. Was we had so many prizes to give away, boxes, sign stuff, sign 8x10s, cards. I mean, just so much crap to give away. I felt it looked like to me that every time we were doing another drawing for another ticket, people were like, yeah, shut up. Okay, we're dealing over here. We're trading over here. Like the prizes were secondary. Nobody cared about the free stuff. They wanted to continue to engage and do trading, which was just such a cool thing to see. And everything you had, a father-son there, and the father teaching the son the art of trading. And you got Papa Bear is there from Card Foundation, negotiating with like this 12-year-old kid trying to sweeten this deal out. And it's just watching the new generation with the old collectors. It was just so much fun.
You and I were standing in the corner, and I put my arm around you, and I said, "Do you ever thought we'd see this?" You remember that moment?
I did. It was almost.
You were almost in tears. You were almost in tears at that point.
It was. I was dumbfounded, and I had nothing to say. And I'm like, got my arms crossed like that. I was kind of like just staring at and just soaking all of it in, going, "This is amazing!" Like all these years, and to see it where it's come to. And it just I agree with Paul. It lacked one major thing, and to me, and that was no Chuckster there.
No Chuckster there, but I was still immensely proud about, again, kudos to Adam for organizing it. Of course, Ryan and the sponsors, and they're going to be involved again, RB Crew and Sports Cards Junction. These guys are going to be even more involved in Cleveland this year. But it was just sort of not a vindication, but like I say, Tony, you and I have been around these parts for quite some time, and it was never that. So I remember that moment when we sort of took a step back. We just watched it all go. We looked at each other and we smiled, and it's like, and I said, we had our hand in this, and we felt good about it,
Yeah, we did. And see some of the heavy hitters there was, just being able to hold the Vince 1 of 1 in my hand was so cool. And
Drake brought his Vince, and I got a picture of it. He promised me that he would, though, so I was glad that he did.
It was it was just nice to see, and there's so many great and seeing how people collected too was kind of cool. Like, how they stored their stuff, what they collected, what their area of, like, this is my lane where I love to go. It was just so cool to see so many different minds coming together, but all about wrestling cards, all about people talking, and the cards themselves created conversations about moments of what, this was from WrestleMania 6, and this was from and I was at this WrestleMania 25, and it was all these different things. It was so cool to see. And
some guys brought marquee pieces, like Drake brought his Vince Super, but Jamie brought his Black Savage and a few things. A few guys did that where they weren't selling these cards, but they were just there for people to see. And guys would sit around their round tables, and guys would put down 4 or 5 of their centerpieces, and they were just there for display. So I'm like, holy shit, look at that! Look at this! Look at
every table had like, check out my dick. No, check out my dick. No, check out my dick.
Yeah. So guys, 2024 Cleveland, the main event. Follow us for more details. We haven't picked the venue yet, but we're getting closer. And it's going to be bigger and better. There'll be a panel again, obviously. Matt Delakis and I are talking about a dinner for the Brotherhood. So there's all sorts of things that are being planned for the National next year. So if you can, come to Cleveland 2024. All right, the last thing, Rock main event. The collector's card series is released. I don't know if that's really news for the hobby, but
I think it is. Why I think it is
news for me and you, Tony. I mean, it took up a lot of our time.
I'm so glad that you added it to the list of highlights for the year, because to me, the collector series is a big highlight, because it did more than just put out a card set, just for shits and giggles. It put out a card set of collectors, again, like-minded individuals who are in the hobby and enjoy what we're doing. It put faces to names, it created an engagement from people. The metal cards, was a big thing, but it put a level of collectability from people. Like, I think it brought the hobby a little bit closer together for that moment.
So.
With all the division and arguments and things that going on, back and forth from the, mid 2022 into the first half of 2023. That was like a moment of like, okay, everybody just stop. Let's enjoy what we really love. And that's the trading cards themselves. Right. And people really got into it. So it was so cool to see, go, I got Chuckster's card. Oh, I got, I got such and such's card. It was just, I got Zan's card. It was, and then this, I'll send you your medal if you send me mine, and kind of thing. And I think it was a good thing for the hobby. I didn't expect it to get to the level of where it got. And the people's
one of the most rewarding things for me, and I mentioned this on Adam's year-end thing that you guys will see next week or whenever that comes out. I got emails from all sorts of people in the set, because I was liaising with, with this next set that's coming in, another 50, so 100 different collectors pretty much. And I got the thank yous for including us, and we got, hey, job, great guys, it looks great. Mm-hmm. But the best thing was, I must have had about half a dozen emails from guys that got the metal card of somebody, ended up sending it to them, and they subsequently did business and was thanking me for, oh, Rich Hopkins is such a great guy. I didn't know him prior to this, but now since we've met, and you mentioned something, face to the name, that's important. Mm-hmm. It brought us together. We decided, and again, the inspiration for this was the Waxateria set where they mm-hmm. featured Chuck and Rob and Dave and you and I on a combined card. And I thought, hey, this is pretty neat, but there's a whole lot more of us in the hobby that deserve this. And that's what got it rolling. But it wasn't so much, hey, we're going to sell these, because I figured we would. Everyone's going to want a card for themselves. But the camaraderie afterwards, and a special shout out to Ryan Shear, because he was the first guy that said, I've got this metal card, and at my cost, I'm going to send it to this guy. And I hope that someone does the same thing for me and pays it forward. And that started what I call the metal explosion. And again, when I came to you in January, I didn't have no idea of metal cards. I said, here's what the set's going to be. And then you said, oh, you should do a metal. And I thought about it, yeah, great value add. I didn't think about it for what it ultimately became. It became sort of the vehicle whereby a lot of people became closer to each other. And a lot of people appreciated it. And let me just say that we appreciated all the support. It was fantastic. We hope you support Series 2. It's going to be another awesome run.
It is going to be an awesome run. We have so much to talk about. It's a whole separate video. There's a whole, so much that we learned from Series 1 that we applied to Series 2, and as far as costs go and things like that, and how, the process of getting these things done. But, just there's so much cool stories to tell about the process and all the things. And you know what? For me, it's just another bonus. Like Series 1 was a bonus. It's just another wonderful Chuckster card I get to add to my super collection. Yep. That's all
Yeah, I've got to figure out a new set just to get another Chuck card going for the PC.
I know. You know what? I just posted, I think yesterday it was, I got in the mail, just randomly in the mail. Lance, thank you so much. I got my Chuckster prismatic sticker from the Waxateria set. It's like that. It's a beautiful sticker card. No one told me it was coming. It just showed up, and I go, what the hell is this? And I go, holy crap. He goes, it's a little letter. It says, to the guy who, who has a Chuckster super collection, it wouldn't be complete without this. It's like that. And it was so cool to get that.
You see, Chuck? You see how famous you are? Everyone's clamoring for your cards.
I was surprised how many cards I received in the mail after your set was released with notes and a self-addressed stamped envelope saying, please sign my card for me and send back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Chuckster's going to have more signed cards out there than Vince McMahon.
Probably. All right, guys, let's go on to our favorites of the year. This is something we've done every year that we've done this show by Christmas time. We first of all talk about our favorite wrestling card release, and then we get right into the product itself, and we talk about who our favorite wrestlers of the year was. So, Tony, let's start with you. What was your favorite wrestling card product of the year? And I guess we should maybe not count Collector Series for this. I mean, that would probably be my favorite. But if you take that away, to be fair to Panini and Upper Deck and all the indie releases.
For me, I think just from a visual appealing look, it's like that. I liked last year's, and I'm going to go with this year's again, was Select.
Yeah.
I just think it was a very beautifully done. Whoever's in charge of doing the images and getting the pictures for that card set, that guy deserves a raise, or gal deserves a raise, because
phenomenal
just some amazing images that you just never saw on wrestling cards before. It's just beautiful stuff. Like there are images on of superstars from that set. Obviously, I don't collect anybody other than Dexter Loomis stuff and Kurt Angle, but I'm like, I might want to get that Rhea Ripley card. It looks pretty damn cool. I might want to get, you know, that Rock card. I mean, there's some really good stuff in there that I really enjoyed a lot. That's probably my favorite as far as overall design and appeal.
What do you think, Chuck?
Well, since you knocked off my collector series,
Yeah, I mean,
same with me.
we're all gonna pick that, right? But so we're not counting that one.
be that, but I'll acquiesce. I have three other ones that I kind of think tied for my number one spots. And the one really surprised me that I picked it, because in the beginning I wasn't a big fan. And that was the AEW Spectrum. It was scheduled for 2022, but it actually came out in 2023. So I'm counting it as a 2023 release, called that or not. Spectrum started out to be, oh, it's kind of high end, and I didn't really see a lot in there that I was fond of. And I was going to only pick maybe 15 or 16 of my favorites and then move on. Once I got those in my hand and I saw how awesome these cards were, they are my version. They are the AEW version of my WWE Platinum. That's how much I like that set. They were just, I ended up getting the full 90 card base set.
And there's not a lot of people that have those, for the record. I didn't get one because you got one, and try and buy one now, you can't. So that's going to become a very rare set in the future.
So now I didn't get the inserts. I didn't get any swatches, any autographs. I just went strictly for the base set because that was really all my budget was going to allow me to do. But COMC really helped me a lot. They had some really good deals on it when it first came out. So I'm proud of that set. I consider it my platinum version of AEW because it's just a beautiful, beautiful set. The other two sets that I had in mind is, and I don't own one card of this, but the only reason I say I like it is because I have held every card of this for Paul. Paul completed or is almost complete the impeccable set.
No, the immaculate.
Immaculate set.
Or the immaculate. That
two
most
cards
current. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about, immaculate. And every card came through me before it went to him. So I've actually got to handle them, see them, feel them. And that is probably my favorite Panini set of the year. That's great. And then if we want to get into Indy, I was trying to kick all three areas. I was trying to kick AEW and Indy. My favorite Indy set, believe it or not, was the GCW Pabst Blue Ribbon set. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's my choice for number one. Funny you say that. That was going to be my choice for number one. Is that set?
Why do you pick that set? Is it because of its scarcity,
for me,
because you actually like it?
Well, for me,
I like it a lot is because it's kind of it's done that homage to the racked roast beef cards, but beyond that, the stars that are on that card, I see a lot of future stars in there. I really do. It's just, and it was just put together well. The shipping on it wasn't real great. I got a big box like this and a little card pack like that inside the box around. But overall, it came out really nice. I just like it because of the look of it, the throwback feel of it, and the future stars that I see wrapped up in that set.
Now that's my set of the year as well, Chuck, coincidentally. More so than any of the Panini stuff, and I'll tell you why. First of all, when it first came out, it was very limited, so it didn't look like we were going to get hold of them. If you recall, the first few were very limited prints, and a few had sold in the 150 range or 120. I can't recall, but
higher than that.
Yeah, and then I think they reprinted them again. And you remember, Chuck, how we squeezed in there and you got us both a set. But for me, the Rack's roast beef is one of those, like the hardcore hack. I've never been able to get a set in all these years, and every time, and it seems like another one turns up, it goes to Peck anyways. But I've adored that set. It's my dream set that I'd love to get one day. I think I might still, I'm prepared to pay for it. But when I saw those, it's like, oh fuck, another Rax Rope B set that I'm not going to own. And sure enough, we did get them. And I like the GCW. There wasn't, like Pete Lynch's ARW set from the year previous was a clear winner for me in the indie world. I found this year the look of them were all good. You know what I mean? Like no one particular design sort of thrilled me, but it was just sort of the circumstances around that Platts Blue Ribbon rack set for GCW. I like collecting the Panini stuff as well. Like you know what we went through, but I got to say, and I've said this before, I'm glad that that's over and we're having a respite from that because that was just too much. It was just too crazy, and I still don't have the Immaculate set done, and I'm into it for thousands of dollars, I'm sure at this point, and it's frustrating. I mean, I should have that set, and yet I don't, So I'm hopeful that if anyone out there has a Liv Morgan or a Roxanne Perez Immaculate number to 65, right here, please. All right, now this is probably the part of the show that I enjoy the most is where we talk about our favorite performers, our favorite wrestlers of the year. Sorry, Chuck, did you have something to add on the cards?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, who was the second one besides Liv Morgan that you needed?
Roxanne Perez. And I've actually never seen a Roxanne Perez number to 65, and it's the one that says rookie card on there. And I looked on 130 point, and two of them had sold, and both of them over $100. The Liv Morgan, I've had the opportunity to get, and just being a cheapskate, I wasn't prepared to go as high as I should have. But the last one I went to 50 on, and I still didn't get it. So just think about it. These are 100 cards where the last bunch are in the $40 to $50 range. So it gives you an idea, And as a set, they're not worth what I paid for it. I'm like massively upside down on them. We talk about this all the time. The set collector sort of bane is the fact that unfortunately you can't turn it around the next day and be whole. But for me, it's the having. The having is better than the wanting, and it was frustrating for me. But for me, I picked the GCW Rax Roast Beef set just because I was so glad I actually got my hands on it. But anyways, we're going to talk about
one purchase and done.
Yeah, exactly. Our favorite wrestlers of the year. We do two. Your runner up, and then who your top performer of the year is. Tony, let's start with you. And you don't watch a lot of wrestling.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of wrestling, but so I'm intrigued by storylines and what's going on, kind of thing. I only watch what's on social media. I don't have TV at home to watch wrestling on a regular, so I catch things, like Sports Center, all the highlights and like, oh, MJF cut a promo, you got to check it out. I'll go check that out. Oh, such and such over in WWE, so I'll check those things out. But I don't really have any favorites. Actually, I don't have any favorites, to be honest with you. I collect Loomis, and to this day, I still never seen the guy wrestle. And so I can't really pick him, but I don't really have anything. Storylines intrigue me. You know what I find myself gravitating towards more and more throughout this year is always the women's divisions. I always find that they're putting on way better matches. I'm thinking the quality of their matches better. Like the last one, I watched the last War Games, and that opening match to me should have been the closing match. That was such a great match. I enjoyed that so much. We knew that Randy Orton was coming back. I'm of that mindset. I'm not surprised to see CM Punk came back. I'm shocked that they would take him back, but I'm not surprised to see him come back. We've been talking about it for months before he showed up.
I'm not surprised they take him back. Vince has showed us over the years that never say never. Oh,
and he got nothing to do with this one. So
I know he didn't, but that mentality of that if customers want it and the money's there,
of course.
that's
so
the
people
most
like,
important thing. That's the driver. So I'm not surprised at all. If there was a deal,
I'm so surprised. I'm telling customers to come in the store. I go, why would you be surprised? You've been talking about it for months. You've been making memes about it. I mean,
exactly.
So it's not a big thing. And the manner in which they did it, thinking, oh well, I guess he's not coming. There's the credits. It's like that. All of a sudden,
that was good. None of us knew.
It was good.
I was all unaware.
It was good. So, but I'm finding a lot with the women's division, stuff like that. I'm really intrigued by all that. I think over this last year, I became a bigger fan of Io Sky and Asuka. Watching those two when Nick and I went to SmackDown here in Phoenix, we got to see that match of Asuka and Io, and it was really good. Like it was, I'm sorry, it's still pay-per-views to me. It was pay-per-view worthy of watching that. I thought that they converted me into being a bigger fan for them just based on their skill sets. And so I'm leaning towards a lot of the women's division stuff. I really am. Way more so than any guy out there. Dragon Lee, great, nice luchador, I guess. I
Well, you
don't
know
know.
what?
There's nothing.
Let me go second, Chuck, and then
Sure.
you go after me because
So,
I'm going to agree 100% with Tony. Because let me do my number two. There's a lot of people that I liked this year. I really liked Ludwig Kaiser. I really like Grayson
oh,
Waller.
that's a good one right
You
there.
know,
That's another good one.
LA Knight came out of nowhere. MJF had a fantastic year. But for me, my number two was Dominic Mysterio, only because of how big a heel he became and how sort of more comfortable and better in his own skin he became um, at his character. And my number one performer wrestler of the year, it even surprised myself. This is the first time in these 4 years that I'm going to pick a woman because I'm with you, Tony. I think the women's division was fantastic. But for me this year, nobody even came remotely close to Rhea Ripley in my book. I, I
100%.
think
Yeah.
I think that she was fucking fantastic. And part of the reason that Dominic was so successful in that heel character, and I picked him number two, is because of Rhea. She won the Royal Rumble. She beat Charlotte at WrestleMania. She is the de facto head of Judgment Day. I don't think that Finn Balor nor Damian Priest on their own has what it takes. But you put Rhea in that mix, and if you watch her, she's just so good. And I know that Becky had a great match with Trish at WrestleMania, and there's been some wonderful women performers, but by a wide margin, I pick Rhea Ripley as my favorite
Good choice. Good
forward of the
choice.
year. Chuck,
She doesn't translate. She doesn't translate the sales. For having
not
the
yet,
store.
but she will.
Well, you know what?
She
Having
will.
the store gives me a good gauge on what fans are looking for and stuff like that. So it's such a good time to be a wrestling fan too, because there's so much good talent out there that there's so many fans of different things. I mean, Cody is still very popular. LA Knight's popular. Dominic's popular because, I mean, his Series 105 Elites are I just, they fly off my shelves. I've had 3 cases of it, and I've gone through all 3 cases, no questions asked.
Yeah.
So it's just,
We've seen movement on Rhea on the cards though, like on our monthly.
I have a little bit. I mean,
we've seen
when you go
we've
on,
seen her crack that top 10 a few times.
yeah, when you go into eBay and doing our monthly sales and stuff like that, but from a storefront,
Yeah.
I'm getting a front line view of what fans are asking for and what they're looking for. And it's not just cards. I'm talking about T-shirts and action figures, things like that. So she's not getting that kind of love from that standpoint from my store, but I think it's coming very soon. I think you're right. I mean, you're right. She is a clear top
Every segment
tier,
that she's on, I'm glued.
and I think
I've seen her get better and better and better.
Was it Bully Ray, Bubba Ray, whatever you want to call him? Didn't he recently I think he made a quote recently or somebody made a quote that she's one of the best wrestlers out there right now in the world side, and not just female, talking wrestlers, period.
Yeah. The way Becky carried the company back in 2020, when she won that WrestleMania, that's how I feel Rhea was. And again, we had some big performers, obviously like Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes and LA Knight, big names. But for me, Rhea, what do you think?
She's going to be about as close to a China as we're going to get, but a China that can actually, I mean, no disrespect to China and what she did and breaking barriers like that, but can actually mix it up in the ring properly.
Yeah, she's just awesome in my book.
Yeah.
Jack, who do you pick? Number two?
Well, last year, if I recall correctly, I had picked LA Knight, and look at his meteoric rise until he got out. But
he got punked out.
I'm going to kind of cheat a little, give you 2 from WWE and 2 from AEW.
Nice.
The 2 from WWE, number 2 to me would be Gunther. I absolutely.
Is it Gunther or is it Gunther?
Gunther.
I hear it both ways.
Gunther.
It's Gunther.
Gunther.
Walter, aka Walter.
Winter. We have a guy up here. Canadians know the name. You've probably heard of him before. A guy named Don Cherry, who used to be a coach with the Boston Bruins, and up in Hockey Night in Canada, he was a colorful guy for the longest time. Then he got thrown off because he was too colorful. But many years ago, when the Canadian national team was playing the German national team, Don Cherry didn't like his coach, and the guy's name was Gunther, and he kept calling him Gunther Schmunter. And I always remember that. That's why whenever I hear Gunther, I can't help but think of Don Cherry and Gunther Schmunter.
Next time I see him on my TV, I'm going to call him Gunther Schmunter now.
Gunther Schmunter.
in all of Gunter's matches. He's a powerhouse. He's a no nonsense. He doesn't cut silly promos. Comes out. He's kind of a modern day Brock Lesnar in my book. I really, really, really like him, and I don't want to see him lose the IC title anytime soon. But I think, unfortunately, I think that's in the near future. And again, he was my number 2. My number 1, it looks like it's a triple threat vote this year, would be Rhea Ripley. I absolutely love that woman. She just, her stage presence, her charisma, her in-ring ability. She's got it all. She's the all-around performer. She just top. Those are my WWE picks.
This is the first time we're agreeing that our top person was the same. I don't think in these 4 years we've ever landed on the same person at number 1.
Yeah, I don't think so either, because for a couple of years I had done MJF, and then I think one year I did, last year I did LA Knight. But these are my 2 top ones, and there's
I'd agree. Gunther's right up there too.
And then when I got over to AEW, I had a really harder time because everybody knows how much of an AEW mark I am, and AEW has kind of lost some of its shine for me this past year, and I really couldn't have picked someone until they signed a couple of new rookies. And I see big things in these guys' futures, although they haven't done much yet, and they need some training, and they're still pretty green. And that's Nick Wayne and Jordan Oliver. I think these 2 guys are going to go somewhere. I like what they're doing with Nick by putting him in with Christian and his little crew, because he's going to get some training from some really good old school teachers there.
There's a big name for you right now for AEW. Like, Christian's had a great run this last year. I think some of his best work ever.
Yep.
Run of his career he's having right now.
Speaking of young tag teams, those Creed brothers, I know they're not AEW, but big things for them going forward, I think.
Yeah. But I understand they just signed Jordan Oliver also, and he and Nick Wayne were a tag team on the indie scene. Now, I think it was the East West Express, if I'm not mistaken. But they're a big thing. If they can finally get them both trained enough where they can break out on their own as a tag team, I see that happening in the future. I think it's going to be at least a year from now before we see that. But I'm glad to see them both getting their break. As far as the homegrown people that AEW has really promoted for years and that really hooked me on the AEW show, I've lost my passion for that. They just AEW I will still watch, but I'm not as big of an enthusiast as I was in the beginning. So it looks like
they have lost AEW.
But and I'm hearing that from several people who've been, big AEW marks since day one kind of thing, or for a long time. Is it because of storyline driven stuff you're not interested in? Is it because what is it about AEW right now that is making you less of a fan?
I think they're bringing in way too many past their prime WWE stars, overshadowing the younger talent that needs to have more TV time and experience. Mm-hmm. I mean, I see some of these guys on there because they give the rub to some of the younger guys, but it seems like you've got Christian, now you've got Edge, you had Punk there for a while, you've got, everybody's coming in. The only one that still excites me in AEW right now is Mox Kenny Omega, and Kenny Omega kind of stunk this past Wednesday night.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty bad, but and you got Jericho, who's an old WWE. You got all the ones that they're really pushing into the big time, with the exception of MJF, is old WWE stars. Let these new young guys do their thing and get the experience, because eventually they're going to be the future of wrestling. And if you just overshadow them and not let them grow, that's going to hurt the product. And I'm just so tired of seeing the same old ones over and over and over again. And they're letting, like, I was a big fan of Ruby Riott in the WWE. She's now Ruby Soho in W. And I absolutely love her. And they have jobbed her out so much lately that saying somebody's going to be facing her, well, she's not going to win. Whoever's facing her is going to win, because and she was such a big deal when they brought her in and brought her out using the Ruby Soho song, you know. And I don't get how they're picking their top stars.
It seemed like for a while they were focusing on their younger guys. Like they're making a point of mentioning that MJF and Orange Cassidy and Darby, that these were guys that were,
They call them the pillars.
correct, that they were domestically sort of grown within AEW. But it doesn't seem like since Cody's left, it doesn't seem that, you know, certainly there's more wrestling, more pure wrestling on AEW. You made the point about storylines, Tony, that maybe they're not as fanciful as WWE, but they've definitely lost the stride. You know, forget what the ratings are, or because a couple of years ago you watch an AEW pay-per-view and it was better than anything you'd see on WWE. The Forbidden Door was fantastic. They had some great ones. Whereas this year, you know, like the Wembley one was a letdown. Steve and I thought, it's like, wow, they had such an opportunity here, and it was just very mediocre in my book. So something's happening there. And I just read that Tony Khan might have actually lost money this year, you know, so it might need something to give the gas, you know, give it the juice to get back to where it was. But it is noticeable that the product isn't what it was for sure. So where are we at? We're almost there, guys. So why don't we combine part 3 and part 4, what we look forward to into 2024, and our Christmas greeting we'll go around. We'll each sort of say our Merry Christmases to everybody, and so the kind of things you guys wanted to look forward to in 2024.
Kick us off, Chuckster.
2024, the one thing I would like to see go away, and I know it's here to stay, is pre-sales on Indy cards. That has been the thorn in my side all year long. You order something,
and many others too.
Yeah.
So,
but I would like to see go away. I would like to see, I don't know. I would just like to see AEW or Panini or whoever ends up with the WWE license. I would like to see them start releasing on a more on a less frequent basis.
Yeah,
they're bringing out so much. One set gets out before you can even blink your eye or open your first box, the next set's out. And for us master collectors, which I'm kind of fading away from now, that's not possible to do anymore. So I'd like to just have breathing room between releases. I'm actually this year going to kind of slow back a little bit, pull back, and kind of focus on kind of getting my passion back for the collecting, because I've just kind of lost my passion for collecting this past year, not only because of the frequent amount of stuff that's coming out, the massive amount of stuff that's coming out, but because of all of the dissension within the hobby. I have never seen so much name calling and nastiness, and to me, that's not me. That's not what I have in my heart. That's not the way I was raised. That's not the way I live. And it has, as most people, maybe a lot of you've noticed, I don't post near as much as I used to. I hang out in the Brotherhood more than I do anything else, because there I feel safe. You know, you get attacked, you do something publicly, you misspell a word, they're all over you. It's, you know, I just need to refocus on myself and get my mental health back in shape again. The cards have kind of taken over. That's all I've done for almost the last 4 years now, since I retired, 3 or 4 years, since 2020. So it's been focused on collecting cards, hanging out on Twitter, giving advice, doing videos, updating websites. You know, I don't mind doing all that, and I'll still continue to do all that, but I don't think you're going to see my presence as much online until I can get myself back on track again. I've just lost the drive to be as much as to do as much as I've done. I need to focus on Chuckster a little bit and get that out of the way. You know, the heel Chuckster might start cropping up a little bit more this year. But overall, you know, I just the whole thing is just for me to get my thoughts together again this year. And that's kind of where I'm at. Just reevaluating my place in the hobby.
I don't think you have any worry about your place in the hobby, Chuckster. It's anybody who's anybody in this hobby knows who the Chuckster is, knows what a great guy you are, knows what you've done for the hobby, knows what you've done for
100%.
WTC, the price guide, and anybody else who ever needs any advice or helps like that. You're legendary, sir. So no one's ever going to question that at all. I
Appreciate
understand, completely understand the self heal part of it's like that, and this hobby and the pressures of doing what we do. I know because we do it for the love of it, and even just for the love of it, people have a certain expectation of us. I think when it
it.
comes to the price guide, when it comes to WTC, when it comes to putting out videos to help educate people, I think that's it in itself becomes it creates pressure on us. And I'm with you on that, Chuckster. I think this last year, especially the second half of the year, either I put it on myself or I felt that it's being from other people trying to put pressure on us. Like, why isn't this done? Why is that done? Why are we not doing this? Why? I mean, it's a lot to take on, and and then all the while trying to have fun collecting too of whatever it is that we collect. So it's okay to take a step back and focus on yourself, because if you can't make yourself happy, there ain't no way you're making anybody else happy.
Exactly. And I don't want to be so overwhelmed that I do stuff half-assed. I want to do things right and make things look. When I give information, I want to make sure I'm good on that information.
I don't
And I
think
don't.
people understand the level of work that you did this year, Chuck. Well, not that you've ever had a lack of any years of work, but this past year, you and I, especially yourself, took on a lot of updating from Rich Felligan's amazing Japanese trading card almanac, and porting all that over into checklist formats for the site and getting things corrected and having extra sets of eyeballs on it between yourself, myself, and then, hey, Rich, this was missing. We have a whole set you don't even have in the book, and then vice versa. I mean, it's all. So looking forward to 2024 when the series 2 of that book comes out. It's gonna be great, but that's a lot of work to do. You know, how many checklists you can crank out in a day, obviously depending on the length of the checklist, but I mean, shit, it takes you sometimes 2-3 days to accurately put together an AEW release, for crying out loud, because of the immense, magnitude of those releases. So people need to out there really need to take their hat off a lot more to Chuckster and stuff like that for the amount of work he puts into his hobby to make things better for the hobby, to make sure that people get accurate information. And we make mistakes, and we're willing to admit those mistakes and get those corrected so that the future of collectors has the most accurate information. And a lot of that has to do because of the Brotherhood, because of Chuckster, because of Paul, because of Nick. Of course, all these guys, I individually name people, they're all part of the Brotherhood. So it's an amazing thing. So I think, it's okay to take a step back and just kind of focus on yourself, and just do what you can do that's comfortable for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll go. I'd like to thank, first of all, you two guys specifically and personally. Tony, for all the stuff that we've done together, just hanging out at the National, the monthlies that we did, working on the card set. Like, we're pretty wrapped up together, and I think we do a pretty good job. We haven't gone to each other's throats yet. We speak almost daily, and
Yeah.
we've accomplished quite a bit.
We've had disagreements on things
Here we
like
have.
that, but like
Yeah.
two rational adult human beings, we get on
First
that
of all,
phone and we talk.
we're friends, and second of all, given that we have, it's not just the wrestling trading card, the collecting of cards. For me and you, it's become something quite a bit more than that, and we've been
Absolutely.
to it. And I just wanted to thank you for your cooperation and
Of course.
for being my friend. And to you, Chuck, I wouldn't be collecting anymore. I don't think, I wouldn't have the Immaculate Collection -2 cards. I wouldn't have the Impeccables. Fuck, I wouldn't have any of the Panini if it wasn't for you. I wouldn't have any of the independent stuff if it wasn't for you. My life took a turn back in 2017, or when I can no longer afford to get stuff up to Toronto. It just didn't make sense. And when you made the offer, well, just ship it through me. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that because it's going to be too much. And it's been a lot, but I just want to let you know how much I appreciate it, how much, you sort things for me. The boxes come and they're packed right. And it's just so much easier for me. Thank you for everything you've done for the price guide. We talk about all the work you do for WTC, but you should also know that when Chuck does something for Tony, he does it for me as well. We share.
We're copied on the same exact things all the
Correct.
time. So
We
that way
share information. We're not like, that our two sites are inextricably linked at this point. And when I put up a new link, the first thing that I do is I reach out to Chuck and Tony and say, okay, I know it's going to be in Tony's inbox for a little bit, but at least I know he's got it. And here's the image. And so to you
so
guys,
funny. I was just shooting a message to Chuck yesterday going, yeah, you know what? Now we got the Japanese stuff all done, and which that was like 100 plus, way more. I mean, who knows how many emails you sent me, Chuckster? And I'm going, you know what? I'm actually going back and getting rid of some old emails now and finally doing it. And when I mean old emails, I'm going back to 2019, 2020, 2021, and going through and just trying to properly file this stuff away, going, oh, this stuff needs to be put away. So I gotta update some stuff.
That gives you an idea of the quantity of work that Chuck does, not just for us, but for the hobby. So we all owe the Chuckster a massive debt of gratitude for what he's done behind the scenes to give this information to me and Tony so that we can present it to the hobby. And before I sign off, I'd like to thank all you collectors out there, everyone that's sort of engaged with us in some way or another this year, be it watching Tony and I on our monthlies, watching the collector series that we started doing in the fall, and that's gotten a lot of love, and we're looking forward to carrying on with those. To watching Ryan and Adam on this network as well, and of course all the other shows. The Card Foundation, Zen, Brett Stacking Slabs, Tom and Collectapalooza. If you've spent any time, time is valuable. So we appreciate that, you take a half an hour, 10 minutes out of your time to consume this content. To guys that go on Mike the Cleaner's Monday night sales thread, to guys that do Wrestling Card Wednesday, tweeting Jamie and the lads in the UK, Ty the Collector is one of one. There's just so much stuff out there that we provide, and we just want it in the collector series, the card set. How can I forget? We've got the second series coming out now. 100 guys that we've dealt with in the hobby, that every one of you guys have been fantastic, and the pleasure has been mine to be a part of it and to represent you guys. So I just want to wish everyone in the hobby a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and all the best for 2024. We'll be back at you then, and just keep your eyes on us.
Yeah, so much more to come, I'm sure. I mean, 2020, I mean, we said it in 2023 in the beginning, like, wow, 2022, what a year, man. That was so many firsts and so many things, the national and this and that, and that's these announcements, and Fanatics buys tops and blah, 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 blah. Like, then 2023 just sat back and said, oh, okay, yeah, hold my beer, man.
Yeah.
And,
2022 was nothing.
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen in 2024, but I think both you guys, everybody in the hobby, everything you said, Paul, is 100% true, man. I mean, it takes a village, man. And here we are, trying to our best to provide the hobby with necessary information. And like I said, we make mistakes, and we want to make sure we get it updated and corrected. And our inbox is always welcome for people to say, hey, you missed this over here, or that numbering is wrong, or you misspelled this, or we get it. We're going to fix it, man. We know we ain't going to be perfect, but we're going to do the best we can to be as accurate as possible. And I just look forward to that for 2024 as well. I just continue to keep, going with WTC, continue to keep going with my Loomis collection, because I'm still having fun doing that. I'm not going after one of ones, or whatever, but I'm having fun collecting Loomis stuff. And so I want to continue doing that. And I thank everybody that's ever taken part in WTC for this channel, provide information. It just wouldn't be where it's at without the other collectors in this world. And it's a very small world now, man. The internet's made this globe very small. And I thank everybody for it, man. And I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And especially you two guys. I mean, you guys have become some of my best friends because of this hobby. This hobby has brought me way better things than just little 2.5 by 3, pieces of cardboard. It's brought me two of my dearest friends in this world. So I appreciate both you guys so much.
And I thank both of you for allowing me to be a part of your pages and your life. And I've just kind of enjoyed everything we've created. I think we've done a fantastic job. But you've kept me going the whole time since the day we decided we're going to bring and do updates, and you want to be part of that on a more on a higher level. You've been the one who's been like the guy reminding me,
when we fall behind and I got, oh my God, I've got 135 emails, Chuck. And you're like, that's okay, Tony. You had 7 years of stuff to catch up on. Look what you did with that. Yeah, you remind me like this is nothing. We'll get it, man. We'll get
You
it done
guys have
like
worked
that.
very hard, and the result shows. Everyone appreciates it.
Yeah,
And I want
I
to
hope
also
so.
everybody a nice holiday season, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and
There we
jingle
go.
jingle.
Jingle, jingle.
Have a good year.
All
All
right,
right.
man.
Merry Christmas, everyone.